Good morning to everybody. I wish everyone well, trusting and hoping that everything is well this morning. It is the 26th of September. You're listening to Island Tea. I just want to wish everyone a wonderful day, wishing and praying that everyone, no matter what task you have ahead, I'm wishing you well. I'm wishing you that you'll have the strength needed and necessary to continue. I want to share this bit of word with you. It's a small quote, but it's a short quote. Sorry, not small quote, a short quote. And it says, life is filled with challenges. Don't let happiness be one of them. Be happy. I want to share that with you. Life is filled with challenges. Don't let happiness be one of them. Be happy. So as you go through the day and as you experience different challenges throughout the day, let not happiness be a challenge to you. Let's let happiness flow from within, and let happiness be, may you be surrounded by all happy thoughts and feelings. So again, pleasant morning to everybody. I looked at some of the news articles. We have some guests coming in studio this morning. Of course, we have the CFPC College. We also have a mediation, a spiritual group who will be with us this morning. And we also have our program, the weekly dose with Dr. Osborne. I looked at some of the articles in the news and, in the Caribbean, and it says, something that I found interesting says that, Jamaicans and Haitians make up majority of Caribbean people in the U.S. I guess that's not unbelievable because, their populations are larger than, well, of course, larger than ours. I mean, we're one of the smallest. But in terms of the population size in the Caribbean, they're among the larger territories. So we have Jamaicans and Haitians make up the largest sections of the Caribbean population in the United States. This was the finding of the U.S. Census 2020 released on September 21st. According to the census, the Caribbean alone population totaled 2.1 million, and the Caribbean alone, or in any combination, population totaled 2.6 million. So let me say that again. According to the census, the Caribbean alone population totaled 2.1 million, and the Caribbean alone, or in any combination, totaled 2.6 million. Okay, so the Jamaican 1 million, Haitian 1 million, Trinidadian and Tobagonian 194,364, and the West Indian, I guess they group everyone else in that group, 119,806. Populations made up 91.5% of the alone or in any combination population. So it says, together, the Jamaican and Haitian populations make up the majority, 80.5% of the nation's Caribbean alone population in 2020. Interesting. So we have, based on the statistics, the census, Jamaicans and Haitians making up most of when it comes to the Caribbean population in the U.S. I would have also seen an article whereby there has been a passing of a cabinet minister in Bahamas. Yes, it says Bahamas cabinet minister, and name is Obi Wilchcombe, has died, and so Bahamians are mourning the sudden passing of Cabinet Minister Obadiah Wilchcombe, who was 65 years old. Mourners have gathered at the Rand Memorial Hospital in Grand Bahama upon learning of his death. the Office of the Prime Minister today announced the passing of the Minister of Social Services, Information and Broadcasting and leader of the government business in the House of Assembly. A statement said Minister Wilchcombe dedicated his life to public service and made significant contributions to the nation. Prime Minister Philip Edward Davis is in Grand Bahama to pay his respects and offer condolences to the family. Meanwhile, the former Prime Minister and Member of Parliament, Dr. Menace, has extended condolences to the family, friends, and loved ones of the passing minister. He said that the Witchcombe served the Bahamas with unwavering dedication and passion. Wow. So yes, we have the passing of a cabinet minister in the Bahamas. Condolences to, of course, the family, the friends, the loved ones. I 65 years old. We're now going to have with us a guest from the CFPC, and so the college that we have here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So we're going to take a short break and come back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Here are your hosts of Value Mart IGA specials running September 21st through October 4th. The more you shop, the more you save. Get double points on all grocery food items and meats until the end of September, and in the month of October, double points on dairy and grocery non-food items. Now, our Value Club Blue Tax specials. Bigelow teas, $10.99. Essential Everyday Grated Parmesan Cheese, $11.99. Yoplait Yogurt, $3.99. Blue Ribbon Ice Cream Tubs, $32.99. Renews It Adjustable Air Freshener, $7.49. And now our very low weekly value deals. Essential Everyday 100% Apple Juice, $8.99. Old Orchard Apple Cocktails, $9.99. Arm & Hammer Deodorant, $7.99. White Rain Shampoos and Conditioners, $4.99. Shop smart, shop Value Mart and get double points for more rewards today. Continuamos con las recompensas durante el mes de octubre. Recibirá puntos dobles cuando haga sus compras aquí. Sea listo y haga sus compras aquí en Value Mart.
Enjoy your summer with the Bank of Nevis Limited. It's that time, and the bank has the perfect summer loan package for you. Take a vacation, enjoy a staycation, advance yourself academically, or prepare your children for back to school. It's your choice with up to $30,000 unsecured loan with an attractive low interest rate. Additionally, up to 5 years to repay. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Offer ends September 30th, 2023. Bond strong.
Everybody beware, you better prepare. Disaster can happen anytime, anywhere. Everybody beware, you better prepare. Disaster can happen anytime, anywhere.
Why prepare a disaster plan? The Caribbean is vulnerable to the effects of many hazards. We're directly in the path of hurricanes, earthquakes, and tsunamis. Many of us live with volcanoes at our back doors. This doesn't mean that we should live in constant fear, nor does it mean we should be too relaxed. Instead, we should prepare ourselves so that when disaster does strike, we will reduce the damage it can do to us. For more information, contact NEMA at 466-5100.
Everybody beware, you better prepare. Disaster can happen anytime, anywhere. Everybody beware.
Well, it's 8:35, and we've got Shauna Rogers from Clarence Fitzroy Brown College.
Yes, we have Mrs. Rogers, and it's all about CFPC. And today is Founders Day at the CFPC, and so it's a significant day. It's a day where anyone who knows it's the day where you celebrate. I want to say the birth of the college and those persons who would have been so instrumental in the birth. So, Mrs. Rogers, you're here this morning. Tell us all about the celebrations this year.
Yes, so good morning to everyone watching and listening. We're here today to celebrate CFBC, and thank you so much, Mr. Gumbs, for having us on this morning. It's just a little bit, yes, as you said, about Founders Day. Today happens to be Founders Day, and like you said, it's basically the birth of CFBC, and incidentally we're also celebrating 35 years, so it's our 35th anniversary as CFBC.
Oh my gosh,
yes.
35 is such a number,
Yes, it is.
When you think about 35 is actually it seemed like the last year of being an adult youth.
Yeah, right. So yes, we are maturing. And so this is an opportune time for us to discuss exactly how we're maturing and where we're going as a college. So I'm really excited about it. We have instituted our board pillars, looking forward from a governance point of view. So we're starting in a very strategic way to look at our governance, and so we would have established a number of board pillars, and the board pillars would then guide us as a college forward. It was guide us forward. Okay.
So tell us about those pillars.
Yes. So the board pillars. Let me get them here. The board pillars, of course, they are holistic HR management. So we're looking for the best people. And we're looking for the best people, not just as faculty like yourself and mine.
Yes.
Like you and myself.
Yes.
Not just looking at the faculty, but we're also looking at our admin and our management. And then we're also looking at 21st century competitive programs fit for context and community. CFBC exists not only in a local and regional, but we also exist in a global community as well as that. And so existing in this community, we need to understand what this community is, and then we need to provide the programs that would guide our students to fit aptly in this global community. And so therefore we're looking at that. We're also, of course, looking at accreditation and collegiate culture. We realize that students, and we're driven by data, so we would have gathered the data for this. We realize that our students coming from the high school, they don't seem to grasp the idea of CFBC, at least not right away. It takes a while. And so we're now thinking about how can we drive this collegiate culture so that when they come in, they're coming into an institution that they are, well, first, of course, proud to be in, and then it's something that would last, because we know from the Alumni Association, we need to guide our students, those who matriculate and then they graduate, right into our alumni. How do we drive that culture that lasts while they're there and also when they become alumni? So we're looking at that. And of course, making sure that the programs that we're aligned with, we have a number of MOUs with great institutions, and we're going to be making sure that we let everyone know about those in the upcoming weeks as we celebrate the 35th anniversary. But we also have to think about, if we're offering programs, that those programs as well are fully accredited and persons they have currency. And persons can take them wherever and fit in wonderfully in any society that they occupy. Then, of course, management by objectives. We have to ensure that we are managed based on our goals and how we're doing strategically. And so, therefore, we have to look at how our entire staff, everyone, the stakeholders, everyone in the community understands that we have these objectives and we're working to meet these objectives. And so how are we going to manage making sure we meet these objectives?
Yes, and these pillars sound amazing.
And I have one more.
Yes, I know.
And that is, of course, our financial sustainability and our budgeting transparency. Now, that is, of course, where the money comes in.
Yes.
Where the rubber meets the road.
I know.
We want to make sure that we are financially sustainable. Yes, we have the opportunity, or our students have the opportunity now to attend the college for free, but then that is a wonderful opportunity for us as a community college. However, we still need to ensure that we are raising funds and managing those funds so that we can be sustainable for another 35 years and another 35 years and
Indeed.
another 35 years.
Indeed.
Yes.
When you look at the CFPC college and you look at this, the new students who have entered, and one of the things that you spoke about is actually leaving the high school, coming to CFPC, and the appreciation and also the, being able to adjust to the college.
Yes.
As someone who lectured there as well and who have taught the first year level, you find that there is a transitional period. And you find that sometimes the students get more serious in the second year.
Yes.
When they realize, that adjustment. As a lecturer there as well, and especially over the years, what is your thoughts on this transitional period? Do you think the college does enough to transition persons from high school to the college level?
Okay, so this whole idea of the transitional period, this is something that is widespread. So you find this in all colleges and universities worldwide. Okay, now you're right when you say that the college needs to do something in order to ensure that this transitional period is not only quick, but it is also as comfortable as possible for the students. And so that is something that we're also looking at right now, because currently I'm in training in terms of that area, the whole idea of campus ecology and student services and so on and so forth, and the helping of students to make sure that they move through that transition. So I'm trying to look at how I'm going to apply some of the things that I'm learning as it is right now. So as you can see, thinking about how we're going to strategically position ourselves, we are in the process of trading and getting that kind of information to do that. Now, how I feel about it here locally, what I've seen is not different to what I have read or studied in terms of the transition. Now, what we need to do, that is something that we're going to have to get together and look at best practice. Okay, so yes, I noticed it. And I thought that we might be isolated at first, but as I study this more, I realize that we're not. So we're not alone.
Yes.
Right. So therefore, at least I know we're not alone, and we're looking into different things like our student services, making sure that we buttress and support our student services, making sure that we have the activities and the events. That's why our year-long activities will include students. It would include student helping, a lot more student helping services, and to make sure that the transition is better moving forward.
Do you think, and would you say, because we are talking about Founders Day for the CFPC, the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, and of course the college comprises of students who would be a part of that.
Right.
And do you find that students, do you find that students they know the significance of this day? Do you feel that there's now education has become, more like a routine rather than a celebration of excellence?
Some do, some don't. Some do see the significance, and I see those persons as the one who already have a career path. But you have to understand that most students that enter in any tertiary institution, the biggest major is undecided. They still don't know where they want to go, and that's okay. That is okay. They're still undecided as to where they want to go and what they want to do. And so some might come in with a tester. Some, there are lots of different reasons why people go to college. Some persons go to college because they're first generation. So they're the first person in their family to even try or attempt tertiary education. Some persons come in because it is the opposite now. This is a generational expectation that they go. And then for some persons, their friends are there and they just want to go along. Some of them have told me in class, I don't know if they've told you, but they told me up front, I ask, why are you here? And some have told me, my mother sent me. So we do have those, everybody has a different reason for going, right? And so we need to now find out what are those reasons.
Indeed.
And even if they're undecided, how do we help them decide?
But that's an interesting thing, asking them, because I do ask them why they have chosen law, because, I teach up there the law.
Yes.
And so, but I mean, looking at the question and asking, why have you chosen to come to TFPC? I think that's very important.
Yes,
and
it
I
is.
think to garner that information would be important, because then you could see how students think, what is the driving force behind students, and then able to chart a sort of direction that would
Exactly.
appeal to them.
Right.
Yes, because when I was at CFC, I could remember it felt like, you move from fifth form, you're going to sixth form. It's just something that you do. Some persons didn't even take it as serious as they ought to. They thought, because a lot of pressure, I find, is placed on students in the fifth form to do well at CXC. And then after that, they just relax.
Yeah.
I find that many of them just relax.
Yeah, it's so different because I mean, we're talking about CFBC now. When I attended, and I'm glad that you mentioned the sixth form guy, you brought it up.
Yeah.
When we went to sixth form, it was this expectation that, well, you're coming now into the top of the class. That gray and white uniform was, this sort of pinnacle.
And you could see that. And
you felt it.
And you could see that. For me, when I was there at sixth form, and those persons who would have been there before me, especially my aunts and those family members, they looked at sixth form with great admiration.
Oh, yes.
And because at that point in time, when you attend sixth form, it meant that you were, as you said, the top of the top.
Yeah,
not a lot of
creme de la
persons.
creme.
Yes, and so. In the greater access of education that we have here, you find that there might be, I find especially now, because you have so much access to it, and access is a good thing.
Oh,
it's a good thing.
Oh, yes,
so I'm not saying
definitely.
access isn't a good thing.
Yes.
But I think because persons just see it now as a routine where, okay, I'm going to go to sixth form. After fifth form, it's just sixth form. It's just some other time.
It's just CFBC.
Yeah.
That is why we have to do the work to create that collegiate culture.
Yes.
We really have to do that because, yes, when I was in sixth form, it was that whole idea of creme de la creme. It's that idea now of how do we bring it back.
Yes.
So that persons understand where it is. So I see that we have some work to do in terms of doing that. And we've started the work. So hopefully for this upcoming year, for the 35th anniversary, we're going to have a lot of events, discussions, panel events, fun events as well, that we think would go a long way to starting to, really bring that culture back.
So tell me of some of the events that would be in the making.
So we're going to have this running calendar as we go through, because we want to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row, of course.
No problem.
And so we're thinking in terms of lots of panel discussions, health fairs. We're really going to be big on health. We're also looking at our green campus. We're thinking seriously about moving towards our green campus. So we're making headway with that. And so we'll hear more about that as we go along as well. We also want to have celebrations of our holidays as well.
Nice.
We allowed, Ben said we allowed. We understood that we were celebrating the 40th anniversary of independence, so we let that shine. And, as our Founders Day is right after, we now could see. It's not that we didn't do anything. We did some great things for independence as well. In-house. And so moving forward, we're looking at Christmas, we're looking at New Year's, we're looking at how we can create these partnerships with our stakeholders through events. And so we're hoping that that's the direction we're going to take for the year. So some of the events, like I said, will be, not just our usual panel discussions and authors forums, but we're also thinking about how we bring persons into the college, see what we're doing, how we have family-oriented events that the whole family can come and enjoy. So don't want to say too much because we're going to really want to come out with a bang,
I know. I'm expecting the bang, the 35th anniversary. It's all about the CFPC College and, education and being so grateful for education. And I think that's the point that I was making earlier. I think that, back in the day, when you listen to persons talk about it, you find that they admire the strides that they have made, and I think in our this generation now, because so many things and so many things have based on the generation of past, they have fought for so many things, so many privileges that now may go for granted because persons just meet it and
Yes.
and do not recognize the fight.
Yes, and the steps.
Yes.
And the blood, the sweat, the tears that it took to get here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it's so important to recognize the steps, and
Yes.
maybe a part of the package could be, educating the students who are there now about the steps that would have been taken by
yes.
others to
Lots of
really
historical context.
Yes. Put them in the position that they are in now, that they don't
definitely.
even have to wonder. I mean, at this level, you realize that,
Yes.
it's free. You could just go.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, I really do agree with us presenting that historical context to students so that they can understand exactly how far we've come, and then also who we're aligned with as well, who see us as so valuable that they've aligned with us as well. All these MOUs that we have with these different institutions, what does that mean for your life moving forward? What does that mean for greater access as well?
And I think these are discussions that need to be had with students, because there is the CAPE, there is the other formal education, the
Yes.
certificates at the Tech
Yes.
Rock, and the diplomas, the associate degrees,
Yeah, and the bachelors
and
and
the
the
bachelors
nursing.
and the nursing.
Yes.
So many things, but I think what also needs to be there and packaged is knowing the importance of having these things, and knowing, especially because when you go into the nursing and that field, you have already persons who know, okay, this is my career path.
Yes.
In the sixth form, you have more persons just dabbling,
Undecided.
undecided.
Again, the
And
biggest
so
group of students
to
are
tap
undecided.
into that and to let them be aware of what opportunities
Oh, yeah.
await them
Oh, yeah. Oh,
based
yeah.
on
Oh,
what
yeah.
they
Oh, yeah.
have done. Because, and again, I go back to my sixth form experience, and persons did things, and a lot of persons did things just to say that they're passing time, not realizing that much of what is done in CFBC could be translated and used in the university.
Definitely.
And
Even at
as-
work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and and is a stepping stone for so much more. I remember when I went to Jamaica, in fact, sixth form was seen, because I think in Jamaica, there's no separation per se in all the schools. It's like a one from, so you go from fifth form to sixth form.
Okay.
So sixth form is seen in a sense by some, because I think there's some schools that separate it. I think so, and this is some time ago, so I don't know if there are changes. I don't think there are changes, but sixth form was seen as, the real end rather than the fifth form. So in St. Neves, I realized that we really put the emphasis on the fifth form, like, okay, you need to get all of these CXC subjects, and when I say CXC, as in CSEC, because CXC is the examination body,
Right.
and CSEC, and then you have the CAPE. And so you put so much energy in the CSEC, but at the end of the day, when you look at the other Caribbean countries, they're saying that, CSEC is just the first step there.
Right.
The CAPE is the more advanced, as it is, studies, and so more focus is actually put in there than, and that is where I see students fall off. They do so well, because when I look at the performances at the CSEC, they do so well at the CSEC, and then when they come to do the CAPE, you realize, well, all the wonderful performances that you have seen at the CSEC level, they don't necessarily translate in the CAPE. And is it that students are putting in the same energy? Is it that students just can't adjust to the increased workload, maybe the less pressure by the school? Because, in fifth form, you have the go to class, you're doing your classwork and everything. In sixth form, you have a more
It's very
relaxed
structured.
environment.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more, you have to remember that the advanced level, the responsibility is more on the student
Yes.
to perform, whereas in the CSEC level, there's a lot of support and from the teachers, etc., which is great. Now, I do believe that this is a discussion that we need to have in terms of how we transition them from CSEC to CAPE, and I think we also need to think about the quality of subjects as well, and possibly, how they relate to both both levels, the CSEC and the advanced CAPE level.
Mm-hmm.
So this is definitely one of those panel
Definitely.
discussions that we could possibly have.
Yes.
To shine a light on the situation as well. I think parents too, as one of our major stakeholders,
Yes.
could be aware of the gap, for lack of a better term, the gap between the two, and see how we move that forward. But it's very interesting. And we have experienced it as lecturers. We see the difference as well. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah. So as we wrap up this segment this morning,
yes.
Could you give us some lasting words? I don't like to say last words because are they ever last? I want lasting words.
Quick question.
Sure.
Yes or no? It's 35th anniversary.
Yes.
You guys going to have a Christmas program this year?
Christmas program we're hoping to. So
okay. Because I know the last time was like 2019 maybe?
Yes, it was 2019. And because of what we all went through, that should remain nameless. We are looking to, bring that back up again. Yes. So
wait, before we go into those lasting words, I have someone who messaged me and asked, do you think that removing the uniform at CFPC may foster a better attitude to college life?
Not necessarily. I don't. I am one who I always like the idea of the uniform. That's just my personal opinion. I think our uniform is very sophisticated. The reason I say that is because the way it's made, it can fit into any corporate setting. A student doesn't necessarily have to find new clothes if they get an internship or anything, because a uniform is built for that.
Yeah.
And so on that note, it is worth its weight in gold. Also considering the fact that we do have everyone from all our all our communities coming. And we do understand the reason for having a uniform is to ensure that everybody's on the same playing field.
Yeah.
It's a less of a distraction as well for some persons, and making sure that everybody feels included. One of the pathways to college and college success is inclusion and belongingness, something I just studied. So one of the pathways is the whole idea of inclusion and belongingness. And so when someone comes to school and we're all in the same uniform, we're all looking the same, it also helps in terms of, taking away any distractions, taking away persons possibly feeling isolated because they're not wearing. And we've seen some of those movies where you have the rich kids are the ones who are in all of the name brands, and then the ones who are not, so they're a little isolated or something. So I think sometimes we need to think about things on a big picture.
I could see the positives of the uniform as well, as you look at it at different social walks. You look at it as well that these are persons who they're just just 17, 18, 19, majority of them.
Right.
A lot of them not working yet. A lot of them still under the support of their appearance.
Of course, yes.
And so I mean to add that they have to prepare themselves and have different clothes for school that is almost every day. I think that might be a bit of a burden on them at this time,
right?
If we do it like that.
And then remember again, let's take a look at the sixth form. When we knew we had passed those exams to go to sixth form, to get that gray and white Azard, that was a point of pride.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to wear that gray and white uniform. So it's again another reason why we need to concentrate on collegiate culture is to get that mindset back.
Yeah.
That you're going to CFBC, so you're going to wear that uniform. You covet.
Yeah.
Well, for lack of a better
I
term.
know.
You understand where I'm going.
And bring back that prestige.
Yes.
And
because you see, nobody ever questioned the gray and white.
Yeah.
We never questioned the gray and white. We never said, oh, if we don't wear the gray and white, would that be better? No. And
that is a debate that I guess we could have.
Yes.
Not necessarily the uniform, but access, and does access the access reduce perhaps admiration or pride
Yeah.
Because and I'm not going like access is good. Access is good.
We've already established
but
that.
the impact of having access, what is it that we could curtail? Because if we tend as humans that if we could get something easily, we don't really appreciate it when we get it. Exactly. But if we have and I've had the discussion before. If we know that we have to do great things to get this, when we do get it, we know how hard we have fought for it, and so we don't want to let it go away.
Right.
And so that is a discussion to have.
It's a debate. It's a debate for us to have.
Yes. So we run out. Oh gosh.
Oh, that's all right. It's been a pleasure having it, being here.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm always at home at WINNFM because I used to read news here.
Oh,
I don't know if you knew that.
No
Many
wonder.
years ago.
No wonder the voice. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, and it was a wonderful discussion. And I do welcome our other guests as we make way and prepare for our weekly dose. Yes.
Different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Watch the trail of the insect stop. When you spread them with pop. Flying, crawling, insects are falling when you spread them with pop. Nothing comes close to pop. Pop, the number one brand. Serious, get pop.
It's Candisie for me, Candisie for we. Neighbor, partner, your family. The best is yet to come, believe me. Moving forward, moving with. Hey, Candisie serve the nation with the best customer experience. Candisie, you are the one for we. Happy anniversary. Together we succeed, building on strong community, pressing onward to one destiny. One love, one family. Together we succeed. Let the whole world see. Yes, this is 50.
It's 2 minutes.
Oh, we're
after
both
9 o'clock.
wearing green.
2 minutes after 9 o'clock.
Yes.
And it's time for Weekly Dose.
And Jamsa has the tunes behind here, getting persons in the music. Yes, exactly. It's the 26th of September, 2023, and we have with us Dr. Osborne, and it's been a hot summer. It really has.
Really hot summer.
Yeah, and this topic this morning is all about burns and the heat, and such a serious topic, but it's all about burns this morning. We're going to talk about burns, and for those of us who have even had the slightest burn, we know how painful that is. We know how painful that is, and there have been so many fires. Especially when you look at the news. Just yesterday we were talking about fires in Guyana, and there was a school in Guyana that was burnt down and persons who died.
Yes.
And so even though we might add a little humor at the beginning, burns and fire is really a serious topic.
Yes, it
it's
is.
really a serious topic. And this morning we're going to talk about, burns.
And it's such a prevalent topic, so it's very timely. We've had so many incidents of burns, especially we see them often with children, especially, and older individuals and stuff, teenagers. So this happens, and many persons are seen in the emergency room yearly, and statistics shows that over 500, 500,000 persons in America are seen in the emergency room each year with different grades of burns,
Gosh, and I just think about burns, and then after, in addition to the pain, the scars. So many of us know what burns are, but from a medical standpoint, could you give us a definition?
So what is burn? And what is a burn? It is a damage to the tissue, the skin, and we know that, and we're going to learn that the skin has different layers as we progress in this program. and there are different degrees that the skin can be burned. So it is a burn or damage to the skin, and it can be caused by several different things. Most of the time we speak about burns, we refer to heat burn or thermal burn. When you burn with hot water, you burn with fire, you put your hand on something that's extremely hot. But there are the other type of burns that occurs as a result of chemicals. So there's a chemical burns. You have burns we also call friction burns. So sometimes a patient may appear at the hospital as well too. There's been a motor vehicle accident, thrown from a motorcycle, and there's that contact with the pavement or the ground that can call a friction burn. You have radiation burns, you have electrical burns. It happens often. Persons who work in the electrical department, they work on these poles, and there is some kind of accident, they can have these burns.
Wow. You talk about all of that burn, and and as you go on the different types and everything like that, my mind goes around how common are burns. It seems pretty common.
Very common, that you said. You also made reference to a fire that occurred over there in Guyana, one of our Caribbean communities. It is, as I said earlier, 500,000 of persons show up to the emergency room in the United States with different types of burn injuries. It says that over 300 children are burned and appear in the emergency room every day for different degrees, because you have minor kids, they're running around the house, they may pull at your, the tablecloth and different things like that. They put into the parents as they scurry around the house. The teacup turns over and them different things like that with hot coffee, hot water. So that's all. It's very common in seeing children with burn.
When you say that and you talk about children, just yesterday I had a lecture with my students and we were talking about negligence.
Yes.
And this case, and Lord Advocate, where there was a manhole and there were lamps by the manhole. The manhole wasn't covered. Children went in, played with the lamps, got burnt, explosion. And so as you talk about children and burning, my mind go back to that experience in terms of that situation. And so you see how common really it is.
Really it is, yes. Young adults, children, older persons too, who may be a little bit more frail, more difficult for them to move around the house. Persons who, you're in the kitchen, you're cooking, if you're not careful, you have the hot frying pan that's on the stove, you accidentally turn it over, burn your hands, burn your feet, burn your body, and those things can happen quite often and can be very painful.
Yeah, and you have discussed, you've already mentioned that children are quite likely to get burned, and because children are curious, they don't know the dangers, a lot of them, and you have also spoken about the different types of burns. Could you give us further information as to the first degree, the second degree, the third degree?
Yes. So burns are classified based on the layer of the skin. So keep that in mind. And you have the superficial layer or the epidermis that we say. That's the top layer. That's a very thin layer that you see that gives us the color that we have. And if that area is burned, it is what we call a first degree burn. You can see those burns. Keep this in mind when you go to the beach and you get sunburn, especially in persons with fairer skin. Those persons get a lot of sunburn. So that is a classic example of a first degree. So that is usually treated at home. The persons go to the beach. If they did not put on any sunscreen lotion and they were exposed to the sun for quite a few hours, they get those burns. Even in darker skin, we do get sunburn as well too. So that's just the top layer or the epidermis, okay? It becomes red, that becomes painful. And those patients, we would just simply advise them to put some aloe vera cream or whatever on it to avoid the sun for the next couple of days. You've got the second degree burns. That is where you, not just the top layer, which is the epidermis, there's another layer beneath that's called the dermis now, and then there is burn to that. Those burns are what you tend to see when you have hot water that is spilled. Oftentimes that's the hot tea or the coffee, and you see those bumps and blisters and it becomes red and the child is in so much pain, or whoever is burned is in so much pain. Those can be very painful because they expose the nerve ending, and that is why burns are very painful. They are red, they're swollen, they're blisters, and you see those water-filled blebs. The third degree burn now is much further down now. That gets to the layer where you got the damage completely to the skin, and you get down to that fatty layer under there, and you go further down, and those tend to be the ones that are charred, they're whitey in color. Now, at that level, you're not having so much pain. Why? Because you've destroyed all of the nerve endings, because you've gone so deep into the skin now. So you've burnt off the entire skin, and you can then start to see exposed muscles and those things. All right, those are the most.
As you describe it, my mind always goes in, because when anyone describe those things, my mind is so visual that I begin to see, and it makes you feel as though you're actually seeing that done. I could imagine, as you explained so vividly, the caller, the audience, how they imagine this. It's really
and
devastating.
most person would have had contact with somebody who might have gotten burned, or they themselves might have gotten burned or throughout the years. So you can keep that in mind when you see the redness, you see those blisters filled with water come up on the skin.
Yeah, that's really burning. That's really, and it's something that occurs by accident. Is something that occurs when you look at, those medieval times when they burned person at the stake. And when you talk about now that you could reach the 3rd degree, and the 3rd degree, by that point in time, so many nerves endings have been destroyed that you don't feel anything. Now I'm thinking, okay, then after they started and as it progressed, I guess they don't feel no pain after, before they die. I don't even know.
But remember, you have brought something to mind now. You're thinking of Game of Thrones, you're burning somebody at the stake, and that person is screaming in so much pain, because you're, of course, in that instant, the initial instant, you're burning the layers of the skin, the initial, and then the nerves are exposed, and then after, those are going to be damaged. You're going to then eventually die, because also when you're being burnt as well, there's inhalation of smoke, and that affects the upper airways, could put you into respiratory distress, and that is how some of these patients die. It's a very terrible way to die.
Yeah,
really.
when you think about those methods used back in the past for death, like burning, it's really terrible. It was really terrible. And when you look at those persons who stood and watched, I don't know how they stomached that. It's really something. Yeah. Wow. And we've already went through some of the causes of the burns. As you said, you have the thermal, and I don't think we mentioned much of the chemical, though.
So we to talk about the thermal, fire, hot liquid, steam, any of that. So one person to keep that in mind. If you touch a hot surface, you get those. Those are the most common cause of burns that we'll see. They'll come to the emergency room, or you'll see them in your practice. Then you have chemical burns. You have different agents. Patients have come to me who work in cement a lot, and they have, they could have burns from different chemicals in those components. Acid, drain cleaners, some of these household chemicals that we use, if they're exposed on your skin, they can cause chemical burns, okay? You have radiation and electrical. You must have seen, and we would have heard of persons throughout the years, it's not that frequent, would have been, have electrical shock and come to the hospital in different degrees. You might have gotten shock at the home and a minor incident. A little zap. But if you have large voltage of current go through you, that can create so much injury, destroying the muscle, destroying the nerve, and affecting the major organs, especially the heart. And that is where some of these persons will lose it. And we, of course, know sunburns. We all know that's the ultraviolet or the UV light exposure.
Wow. Yeah. So what are some of the signs of burns?
Okay, so it all depends on the severity of this, the severity. Remember, we spoke about different degrees. So if you have a 1st degree burn, you're going to just see some redness there. That ends up peeling off, and you would have seen that over the time when you would have gone to the beach, you spend hours out, and then your skin is darker, and then it starts sloughing or peeling off. Then you can have some pain. Then you can have blisters. We said that blisters are these sacs that are filled with water in them. Those are when you have a deeper degree burn, like a 2nd degree burn. You got burn with hot water, cooking oil or so. There's also going to be some swelling oftentimes too. And then as the burn gets deeper, the skin look charred or whitish, because you have burned through on the layers, the more superficial layers there. And then, of course, we said the skin is peeling. So you're going to have some persons in the more superficial, like especially the 2nd degree, there's going to be a lot of irritation, lots of pain associated with that. So you're going to see these things happen often.
Yes, sounds good. In terms of the knowledge that we are garnering here, in terms of being able to become well equipped as to, you know, what happens when, you know, that if that happens or anything like that happens to anybody, because I'm sure a lot of the persons who are listening now could differentiate between the 1st degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree burns, you know. And we've looked already at the types. We looked at the signs. How can burns be treated or managed?
Okay, so it's going to also come down to the severity. We've spoken about it and the different grade of a burn. There's another thing that we haven't really touched, the amount of surface area that is burned. So the body can be divided in up to a percentage, and you're trying to get 100%. So if you have burns that are greater than 10%, we start to say that's a bit more severe. So do you understand? So when you look at the percentage, the body is broken down. You will say that the chest and the tummy, the anterior trunk, that is 18%, the back is 18%. So you have it broken down to get the 100%. So if you have about 10% or more of your body that is burned, that determines the severity of it too. When we have 1st degree burns, those are usually non-emergent. They're not treated medically. Most of the time, the person put on some aloe vera gel or cream or so, and then that takes care of itself. Then when you need medical treatment is when you have 2nd degree burns, and especially that is of a greater percentage of your body that is burnt. Of course, you want to keep that in mind. You want to make sure that the person has adequate pain management. It is always said if you sustain a burn at the house, you want to put your hand in cold water, running water from the pipe for at least 10-15 minutes. You want to make sure you cool that until most of the pain goes away. Okay, and if that pain, that area is a big area, then you may need to seek medical attention. Most of the time, once it's more superficial, like a 2nd degree, you may have some blisters. You apply antibiotic ointment. You want to do the pain management for those persons, of course. Okay. And sometimes we wrap these burns to protect them from the environment and from getting infected. When you have more deeper burns and a wider area now, you want to then, this person may be hospitalized, especially if they're minor. There are certain areas of the body that you have to take into high consideration when you're classifying burns and how you manage them.
Yes.
If you burn the hands, that is very severe because people use their hands for survival, for their work. If you burn the feet, if you burn the genitals, those give you more criteria to admit the patient, for the patient to be seen in a burn care center. In most of these first world countries, they may have burn centers. So then you want to treat the patient based on the severity. Then when you have a larger area and the person is hospitalized, importantly, you want to make sure that the person is hydrated. When you burn your skin, the skin is a barrier that keeps heat in, that keeps fluid in. The person loses a lot of their fluid and they become dehydrated easily. And being dehydrated leads to a lot of different complications. So hydration is going to be important in these persons. Persons who have a very severe burns in a large area, they may need skin graft. So those persons may have to have grafting from another area. They may take skin from another area of your body, or they may take artificial material and put it on the person. You may also have cadaveric or skin from a person who has been deceased. You can also use that in extensive burn injuries as well too.
Okay. Wow. Interesting, especially that last one when you talk about persons who have passed and using their skin to treat and manage the burns.
Because it is very important to cover the surface, or else the person continue to lose all of the hydration, the moisture from their skin, and that is one of the things. The person becomes dehydrated, their blood volume decreases, the blood pressure drops.
The complications of being
those
burned. So I guess
are the
we could go into that.
complications. All of those are part of the complications. One of the most important things, especially if you have an electrical burn, arrhythmias, because that electrical shock there changes the rhythm of the heart. Yet these persons have arrhythmias and they can die as a result of these. Okay, you've got things like dehydration, we've spoken about that. The skin, one of the important function of the skin is to keep the moisture in, is to act as a barrier protecting the skin. These persons become dehydrated. Once you become dehydrated, your kidneys are not functioning well. You could go into organ failure. These persons can develop infection, pneumonia. One of the most common cause of person with severe burns or extensive burns is pneumonia, and that pneumonia oftentimes lead to the demise or the loss of that individual. All right? You could have severe infections, especially when you have extensive burn. Those are some of the most complications that you see. So you've got the dehydration. Persons can also become disfigured. We've seen persons who've had 40% of their body burn, and they have all the scars. They have joints that are curled up and unable to extend them because it's called contracture. You're burnt around the joint area, like the elbow, and they're fixed in a position. They can't extend it because once the tissue heals, it is scarred over, it is contracted. And these persons are going to need a lot of physiotherapy. Okay, they're going to need a lot of psychological support as well too.
Yeah, it's very not an easy topic this morning, in this slightest, in terms of being, and then you look at the persons, who have been burned, and it seems like it seems so painful. It seems so painful. And I go into my favorite now. How can we prevent a burn?
How can we prevent a burn? As you said, that's the most important thing. If you don't remember anything else we've spoken about, you want to prevent these burns, because if we prevent them, we do not have to get into solution mode. Okay, so you want to wear sunscreen. We spoke about the first degree burns. Wear sunscreen when you go out. Sometimes we as black people, we think because we've got all that good melanin, we don't need to wear sunscreen. We do. So you want to wear your sunscreen. You want to make sure that your temperature at the house, it is below 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Set your home hot water. Because then you have an elderly person and they turn on the hot water, they can be burned. Or a child in the bathtub. And if they're getting in by themselves, they sometimes happen. And you want to always test the shower water or bath water before getting in or bathing the child. That is very important. You want to lock up any chemicals, lighters, matches, from children or minors that are in the home, okay? You want to be very careful, especially at the stove. We've had so many persons come because the gas tank exploded or something at the stove went wrong. So you want to make sure that when you're cooking, turn the pot handles inside or away from it, because sometimes you're passing by and you turn over the pot of soup, and that hot pot of soup burns your thigh, burns your leg, go right down to your feet. That can happen. And you want to make sure you do not leave the stove unattended. I've often done it. I put some water to boil and I go in the bedroom and you get so distracted and you've forgotten that when you come down the pot is empty, things like that. So you want to make sure that once you're doing anything in the kitchen, you stay close to the kitchen. Even if you have to bring your computer out or whatever, you make sure that you're focused on that task, because leaving these things unattended can create a problem. You want to make sure, keep safeguard your children around the fireplace. Never leave a child unattended, especially when you have things going on in the kitchen. Children are running around the kitchen counter, the kitchen island, and that could easily turn over a cup with hot water, your hot cup of coffee, things like that. You want to make sure that you have smoke detectors installed in your house. We don't have that practice here, but in first world countries, those are mandated to have your smoke detectors, your fire extinguishers, making sure you have something like that at the home and know how to use it. We need to have that. Though we may think we do not have major fires per se in the homes that often. When it does happen, these are things we would wish that we would have. Make sure you cover electrical outlets too. When you have minors, they like to push their fingers, their tiny fingers into things, and they could have electrical shocks. So those are some of the ways we can prevent it.
Definitely. And we've had such an interesting discussion here this morning, visual as well, for me at least, based on the how you have explained it and how you have, dissected the information. We welcome callers. If there are callers out there, if persons wish to ask questions, this is your opportunity to ask questions. And you could have, that opportunity. Don't let it go to waste. And so, we talked about burns this morning, and It has been quite the discussion, Doctor. I mean, if there is a summary that you would like to give at this point in time, just to cover all that you can.
So, in terms of summary, we just to remind everyone that burns are classified based on the degree of which they affect the layers of the skin. That is important to understand. Usually, most of our burns are going to be first degree. You go out in the sun, keep that one in mind. You get sunburn. That's a classic example of a first degree. A second degree, a classic example, you're getting burned with hot water at the house. You want to prevent things like from happening. And fires tend to cause more severe burns, second degree and third degree burns. You want to also keep in mind the amount of area of your body that is burned. We said that the total would be 100%, and based on how much area is burned, if it's 10%, 20%, that would determine the management if the patient needs to be hospitalized.
Yes.
We want to make sure that you keep in mind that there are different things that causes burn. We say thermal burns, anything with heat, hot surface, hot water, the sun, cause what? Heat burns or thermal burns, but we have other burns like electrical burns. We've got burns that are caused by chemicals. We have burns that are caused by radiation and stuff like that. You want to make sure the most important takeaway would be the preventing of these burns. Prevention is very important when you have little children around, your elderly parents, persons that are ill, persons that may have some form of impairment, a person that may be blind as well that is in your home. You want to make sure that you're cautious with how the pots are on the stove. If you can use the back burner, it's always better than to use the burners that are closer. Make sure the pot handles are turned away from someone easily butting into them and creating a problem. So the prevention is going to be important. Make sure put away your matches, anything that creates a fire where your child and a minor can get to it, because kids are always playing and very curious and getting into stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. You want to make sure you have a fire extinguisher. We're going to have to start having things like these around the home, because you never know when you need it, so that you have it at quick access.
Wow. Do you want to take a call?
Yes, we can take a call if there is a caller.
Weekly Dose, you're on. Hello, caller. I guess the caller doesn't want their weekly dose.
And when you're going out and you're going to the beach and stuff, everyone should wear sunscreen. And I thought one time we were having a discussion on that where we need to keep emphasizing it. And especially when you're going to be in the sun for very long hours, you're going to the beach, put on your sunscreen. It's going to be
very important and necessary.
Okay, let's try again. Weekly Dose, you're on.
Yes.
Hello? Oh, I know what happened. The power outage.
Oh, the power outage. Yes, we had a power outage this morning.
It affects the phones.
Yeah, affects the phone lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that just in the office, or this was in the entire
Well, I think
zone?
just after 8.
Yeah.
We had a power outage. Yeah. So it affects the calls.
It affects persons calling in.
Because I was wondering how come we didn't get the calls in this morning, and that makes sense, because every time the power goes and it comes back, they have to be restarted. And
another thing I want to talk about, we know that Breast Cancer Month is coming up in October. We have lots of plans here on the show for the next few weeks, the next 4 weeks in October. We want to do some exciting stuff. I have some ideas. I want our audience to listen in, to get excited. We want to be able to see if we can offer some mammogram screening as well to some of our listeners, especially our persons who have never had a screening mammogram, because we want to emphasize those things. So I'm going to bring in the recent stats about breast cancer in the Federation, where we at, what we're doing about treatment and stuff like that. So we're going to have an exciting month coming up. So we're going to dedicate all of the sessions in this October to breast cancer in different ways. We're going to do different activities.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, really so we want our listening audience to get excited. And I also wanted to let you know that it is very informative. We're seeing so many persons with breast cancer more and more. This is a very prevalent disease. It is the number one cancer in female, and actually in many areas now it is overtaking a lot of the other cancers. Overall, I think it is in females, it's the number one cancer, of course, but it must be second or almost in certain societies, number one in cancers overall. We're seeing a trend where persons are developing breast cancers in a very early age, okay? We're seeing lots of patients in their 30s with breast cancer. So we've got to be vigilant. We've got to educate our population because it leads to young mothers being away from their kids because of death and so. So we're going to plan a very exciting month of October, advocating, educating about breast cancer. We want our audience to be excited and to call in. And anyone you can tell who's never had their mammogram to go and get their screening mammogram, because early detection means that you can have early intervention and can increase your survival rate. So those are the things we want to get excited about in the month of October.
It's going to be heavy, guys. But it's going to be a way to educate, inform, and guide. And Dr. Osborne is going to make it very interesting.
We're going to make it interesting and fun too. Yes. We do not want to be Debbie Downer on this show.
I know.
We want to educate, inform, but we want to be fun.
Yes, never that. So guys, Dr. Osborne, any lasting words you like to give this morning?
Yes, I wasn't here last week and you had Dr. Leon on the show. I heard you had a good time.
We had a good time. It was a good time. It was... Yeah, we had a very good interaction with her.
Okay.
She I think her first language is Spanish. Yeah,
yes.
but she was able to, do her way through the show. She really represented, the office and everyone well.
Okay,
yes.
Awesome.
We had a great time with her.
And I missed you guys last week when I wasn't here.
I know.
So we'll be back next week. I think next week will be October. Which date is it? So we're going to start off with our breast cancer, get some information there. It's all about educating, and
Yeah. And so, guys, we encourage you. Yes, have a good day. We're going to take a short break. We'll get back, another guest, and we're going to go into the spiritual realm. Yes.
Sounds good. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Drink healthy.
Reduce sugar chubby with the same great taste. Lots of magic fruity flavors. Drink the more healthy way.
It tastes so yummy, chubby, chubby.
25% less sugar chubby. Be active, be healthy. Drink lots of chubby. Kicking football, playing cricket, having fun in the sun.
It's chubby.
Reduced sugar chubby keeps you cool and refreshed.
It tastes so yummy, chubby, chubby.
25% less sugar chubby. Jumping rope, running races, have fun.
It tastes so yummy, chubby.
Drink the more healthy way.
Fruta full of iron thing. Real fruit juice, full of vitamin. Pop open the goodness, just dive in. Fruta every night, fruta every morning.
It's the amazing taste and quality in fruit juice you've come to know and love. Anytime, anywhere, any occasion. Fruta is your tastier, better, healthier choice.
We got the vibes, fruta. Real nice, fruta.
And for the families, remember to pick up the 1 liter.
It's 9:35. It's time for our next segment.
Yeah, and we're here, and I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. We're here on Island Tea, so who's gonna do the introduction? What? Yeah, they have already voted.
Yes, a very pleasant good morning to listeners wherever you are. Essington Watts from the Meditation Center. I have my two sisters here, my two elder sisters, who are going to introduce themselves as that. Thank you very much.
No problem. Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm called Sister Alana.
Yes.
I am the National Coordinator of St. Kitts. I'm the National... Start again from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, everybody. I am called Sister Alana, National Coordinator of the Meditation Center in St. Kitts. And we are located at
Carifesta
Village.
Mm-hmm.
Not too far from the Prime Minister's office.
Yeah, okay.
His constituency office.
No problem.
So he's on the left as you're coming up. And when you turn again a second left, we are there. You can see us.
Awesome. And so tell us about... Oh, yes.
Om Shanti and good morning to everyone. It's nice to be with all of you. Om Shanti means I'm a peaceful soul, and we all are peaceful souls. I'm Sister Rita. I'm from Curacao, the National Coordinator of Curacao and Bonaire for the Meditation Center from the Brahma Kumaris. And I am here for a special visit to the center here and for programs, etc., and I'm very happy to be here. It's a beautiful island.
Oh, thank you so much. And we are glad that you're here. So I am, you could tell the excitement. Tell us about the work that you do. Tell us about what persons can expect from your organization.
Well, our organization is, let's say, like a school. Mm-hmm. It is a study place where we study to become better people and to make the world a better world, to get rid of our weaknesses and to, again, bring up our beauty, our inner beauty that we received from the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul, God, as inheritance from Him, virtues and talents and peace and love and all those things. And we just buried it under a lot of rubbish because we became independent. We became dependent, on the things around us. And we lost our peace, we lost our patience, we got all those vices like greed and anger and attachment and ego and all those things which make us more and more unhappy. And then God teaches us, you are originally a peaceful being, and you have to become that once again and help the world to become peaceful once again. So that's what we're doing.
Okay. And so how would you classify your organization as a religion? Would you classify it as that? And if so, which religion do you go by?
No, we are not attached to any religion because we're open for all religions, knowing that there is only one God. There are not different gods for different religions. There is one God, and that God is the Father of all souls, not bodies. So that brings us immediately to the question, how many fathers do you have?
Yes.
Yeah, you have two fathers. One is the father of your body, and one is the father of the being that you really are, the soul, which is a tiny point of enormous energy, and it is located in the center of the forehead, the place from where it steers the whole body, everything. The soul can look out through the eyes, it can hear through the ears, it uses the brain to send out messages to all parts of the body, so the body can do what it needs to do. But just like when a driver is sleeping, what happens? The car gets out of his control. So he sleeps and then he can't look out of his window, he can't use all the things that are there in the car, It's the same thing happens to the soul. The soul gets asleep. That means ignorant of what he really is, what you really are, the beautiful being that you really are. And when we get asleep, there are accidents. And those accidents are all the things that trouble us in our life. Sorrow, hatred, greed. All these things look like comparison, no? Why does they have and why don't I have? So comparison is something that is very bad for us. We should look at the things that we have and not look at the things that we do not have and wanting them because others have them. And so slowly, you learn when you focus on the being that you really are, and that being is really the child of God with all the attributes of God, all the virtues and powers of God. If you focus on that, the rest is removed because God says, stay in my company and I will color you because you're colored by the company you keep. So keep in my company.
And I have a question as relates to that. You know, various, and you say it's not a religion.
It's not, not that it is not a religion.
Yeah.
We are not attached to any religion.
Okay, then I get you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the clarification. You know, in various religions, there's usually a guide. Christianity, you have the Bible.
Yeah.
In other religions, you follow that guide. Is there a book of principles? Is there a guide that is used within your religion to guide how persons, you know?
Yes, we believe, or let me say we are sure that God makes contact with the world when the world is in its baddest stage. Because before that, we were not listening to God. Even if He would tell us something, we wouldn't listen. So when the world is in the baddest stage, God makes contact with the world, and He's using a medium. So the medium, that is what we call our founder father. Our founder father, and through his body, God is telling us that we are not bodies, that we, his children, are souls, beautiful, sparkling beings, peaceful, powerful, loveful, and that we lost it. Because in the world of matter, where we play our roles, in the world of matter, we need, as a soul, we need a costume to experience the world around us, and that costume is called body. Just like when you want to go deep diving, you need a costume. If you want to explore the universe, you need a costume. So if the soul wants to explore and be in a world of matter, needs a costume, and that costume is called body. But I am not the body. So many times when we hear people, religious people talk, they will say, I have a soul, you have a soul, you have a soul. We are turning it the way around. I am a soul, I have a body.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I am a soul, I have a body, and my body is my costume to play my role. It's my instrument to use to do things. It is my church, my place where I have my connection with God. It is the guest house where I stay. You can name it different names, but it is not me. I am the living being in this body that makes the body living. And that's why when people die, they say the soul has left the body. We say, if I die, I will leave this body. Yeah.
And which goes into a very important aspect, because, you know, what happens, because, you know, death in Christian faith, and I'm using that because that is what I'm most accustomed to. You talk about heaven, you talk about hell. In your religion, what happens after death?
All right, let's say first, where is heaven and where is hell? People used to say heaven is up above and hell is down below. What God is teaching us is no. Heaven and hell are here on this earth. But just as darkness and light cannot exist together, heaven and hell cannot exist together. So when it is hell, heaven doesn't exist. When it is heaven, hell doesn't exist. And heaven is the same as paradise. So it is heaven on earth, and it is hell on earth. So who is making heaven on earth? Because God created paradise, heaven on earth. Who made heaven on earth into hell on earth? We did. We made a mess out of it. And God says, if you made a mess out of it, I'm going to teach you how to clear it up. I'm not going to do it for you. You have to clear it up. And the cleaning starts with yourself. Even Michael Jackson would say, if you want to make this world a better place, take a look at yourself and make the change. Yeah, if you want to change this world, go deep within and change yourself. Don't wait for others to change. Because if I change, others see the change in me, and they will want to know what I did, and they will start working on themselves also.
So, it goes back to the question, where does the soul go then after it has left the body?
We believe in reincarnation, but we also believe in what we call the home. And the home is where people of the different religions refer to as heaven. But that's not heaven, that is soul world, where all souls stay together with the Father, the Supreme One, God. So we stay there together. And just like backstage in a theater, all actors are there, but they are not all on stage at the same time. So all actors' souls live in soul world, but they only come to the world of matter when it is their time to start their performance. And soon they come from soul world to the world of matter, and they start acting. Their purity is slowly decreasing, because in this world is the law of entropy. And the law of entropy is teaching us that everything that is left to itself will at a certain point become chaotic. It will be a chaos. And only way to clear up the chaos is when something from outside interferes. So that's where God comes and he interferes. He gave us the possibility to go to earth, the world of matter, to experience the world of matter, to enjoy the world of matter. And slowly we made a mess out of it. It's just like when you want to play games, like, you know, Monopoly? You're going to play Monopoly with a group. Why? Because it's nice. Enjoy doing things together. And then at a certain point, someone starts being dishonest. So what you do? First you warn. And you warn one more time, and at a certain point you say, I don't want to play anymore. But when you started playing, it is because of the fun and the things doing together. And slowly it became dishonest. And the same thing happened to the world. When we come to this world of matter, it's beautiful. It's heaven on earth. It is paradise. And while we're living here and we're losing our energy, slowly, the vices are coming up. At a certain point, we forget that we are souls and we start thinking that we are bodies. And then we become dependent on the world of matter, searching the happiness that we felt inside. We don't have it anymore. And then we start searching it in the world of matter. So we want other things and other beings to make me happy.
I have someone here who says, can you ask your guests, how can I reach her? I know you guys already mentioned your place where you... So if persons are to reach you, maybe you could say it again.
I will give the word to Alana.
Yes.
And Brother Woods is even better with
explaining where it is.
So we'll pass it on to Brother Woods.
And the telephone number and the WhatsApp number, you give everything.
As we said already, we are in Calvesta Village, or New Road Extension, It's very close to Dr. Joe office, Dr. Joe constituency office. It's just about 3 houses down from Dr. Joe office. He's on the top of the street, and we're just a few houses down from him. So that's very easy. Carifesta Village, New World Extension. Sister will give you the WhatsApp, the telephone number.
The telephone numbers are 665-7287. That's the WhatsApp number. And the telephone is 465-1276.
Awesome. So you made the point about reincarnation.
Yes.
And so it is basically for persons out there coming back again. So you're rebirth.
Yes.
If you are human in this life, is it possible that you come back as something else in another? Okay.
No.
Yes.
Because every species has certain capacities in the soul. And only human souls have the capacity of intellect. They have the capacity to change themselves. Animals, they can be drilled and you can teach them things, but they won't be able to change it for themselves in their character. And that is why in many religions they say human being is the crown on the creation of God, because he gave us that maximum possibility and he gave us the freedom. You go, you play, and when he comes to see and he sees the mess and he hears us crying, please God help. Because when in your life someone has done something good for you, the moment you needed it the most, you remember that person. And then things go good, and slowly, you forget that person. And when things go bad again, that's where you start remembering, and you don't know where that person is, so you start searching. So people start searching in different ways, and that's why there are different religions. They'll start searching in different ways, and whatever is needed at some place, God is sending his messenger to give them some teachings. So God is sending Christ, God is sending Buddha to give teachings where they are necessary based on what is needed there. So let's say Abraham, when Abraham, that's the first messenger, when Abraham comes, he teaches them there should be law and order. Order and law should be there, and you should not do devotion to anyone else because there's only one God. And then the Jewish is coming straight from there. And the other side, the eastern side, we have Buddha. And Buddha came and says non-violence, because you are responsible for everything you do wrong. And that is non-violence, because if we believe in what you sow, that's what you will reap. We call it the law of karma. Karma means action, the law of actions. Whatever you do, the results will come to you. And people are not aware of that. So Buddha comes and teaches them you have to be non-violent, because if you're violent, violence will return to you. You don't hurt anyone. And then again, at the other side, there comes Christ. And Christ says, Abraham told us there should be law and order. There is only one God. Look what's happening. Law and order is necessary, but it is only done in the correct way if it's based on love. So Christ comes with a message of love. So all the founders come with a message that is necessary at that place, at that time. And so it's spreading out. But then what happens because of the ego of human beings, they start quarreling in one religion. No, it's not like this. No, it's not like that. So they split. And then you have 2. And then you have 4. And then you have 8. So it splits. And God is calling it a tree. He says, first you have the roots. That are the ones who start working on themselves. And then when they start working on themselves, the new world will come, heaven on earth, paradise. God promised paradise will come again. But it has to come through us. We have to become worthy to go to paradise. So then you get the trunk, and the trunk has no separations. It's one. So there is unity, oneness in everything. There's one continent, one language, one religion, and that is the religion of peace, purity, happiness. And then there is no one thinks about God because everyone is happy and pure from inside. That is where heaven on earth starts. And then at a certain point, it starts splitting. And then you get the trees, the branches. And the branches get twigs. And so it's spreading out to a big, big tree with so many different sects and religions. But they all came from the trunk. And what God is teaching us, we all want peace to be on earth for everyone. So you have to go back to your origin. The soul is originally God-like. We cannot be God because God has his own role to play. He never comes into the drama playing through his own body. Yeah, we do, and that is why we are dependent on the law of entropy. We're coming down. If you buy a new car, the day you buy it, it's new. The next day, it's not new anymore. It's going down, 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 because you're using it. You're using your energy in it. The same goes for the soul. The soul is using his pure energy to guide, to work with his vehicle, his costume, whatever you want to call it, and it goes down, down, down. So in the beginning, we are God-like. We are not God. God is a rule. We are God-like. That means we have all the qualities of God, but we are going down by taking rebirth, 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 rebirth. And when we are in the depths, when we have made heaven into hell, that's where God interferes. And he pulls us up.
When you talk about the rebirth, you're talking about reincarnation?
Reincarnation.
So is it that at first, as you say, you're in your purest?
Yes.
And then you
yes.
rebirth,
yes.
rebirth,
yes.
rebirth. And so at the end of it, is it what happens? Because if you go from being pure
till being most impure,
yes,
that's where God interferes. And then he teaches us how to take the return journey. Go from totally impure back to totally pure. And that is working on myself.
But then, so reincarnation, because if you look at it so the years go by.
Yeah.
We're in 2023 now.
Yes.
And someone has lived 50 years in one body. They're now, their soul leaves.
And comes in a new body, becomes a baby. Yeah.
Yes. And they go through again and rebirth. Let's say 300 years have passed. Who are they at that point in time? Are you saying that they are less pure than they were
in the beginning?
In the beginning,
yes, we are losing purity.
And when you say loss of purity, do you mean that the individual becomes more prone to evil?
Yes, because we got more dependent on the vices, on lust, ego, greed, attachment. We are fighting for being important, even if we go over the backs of others. We want to be important. We want to be seen. We want to have, comparing, looking what others have. We want to have it too, and then looking at like stealing, etc. It's just because They have, I don't have.
So let me ask you.
Anger comes in.
Okay, so let me ask you now, because I know we're pressed for time. So just those persons, I'm just trying to put a practical element to it. Those persons who might be prone to violence in terms of gun violence.
Yes.
Are you therefore saying that maybe they were reincarnated so many times that at this point in time they need to go back to their pure form?
They have to go back to their pure form. And what also happens is the world is in its most impure form. People are, like say,
Gluten.
no, they like they say they're beautiful clothes and shoes, and you need to have it, and you need to. So they're
Fashion.
they're giving they make you do things that you wouldn't have done if all those billboards, etc., were not there, advertisement, etc., television that is showing crime. And they think that if I can get through that, I can get, but they don't know that all the things that you do, the law of karma says, whatever evil you do, it will come back to you. And whatever virtues and
In the
qualities
following
you
manner.
imbibe,
The Premier
when
will
the
make
soul
his
leaves
usual
the body
statement,
and goes to
after
the
which
next body,
members of the press
that's what
corps
you
will be
take
given
with
the
you.
opportunity to
If you
ask
take
their
those
questions.
negative qualities.
In doing so, you're kindly asked to give your name
So
and
we
the
are out of
organization
time.
that you represent,
And
just in
must
case
say, interesting
we have to give
discussions
follow-up
and so many
information
questions to be
to you.
asked.
Ladies
Perhaps
and
we could
gentlemen,
do something in the
without
future,
any further
and
ado,
I want to say thank
join
you
me
to
in
all
welcoming
three
to
of
the
you for
podium
being here,
the Honorable Premier of
and
Nevis,
for
Mark
telling us
A.G.
more
Brantley.
about your religion and what you are doing and what
Good morning,
the
ladies and
religion has
gentlemen
to
of the
offer.
press. Good
Yes.
morning
I
to
want to
those
say
who
thank
And
are
everything we
listening
offer
and
is
viewing
for
via
free.
various
We don't
platforms,
have-
radio
Yes,
and online
thank you.
platforms. I have quite a bit of information
That's it
today.
for INT this morning.
And so bear with me. Let me start, as I often do, by extending congratulations to a few of our nationals who have done well. I start with one of my constituents from the metropolis of Bath, Mr. Jalden Myers, on his selection to the St. Nevis Senior